All right, all right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bakuro here once more again, and today we have Jezreel Franklin. Jezreel, before we go ahead and to introduce our topic, can you just give us a brief background of who you are? Who are you, Jezreel?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayubakuro. So, I'm Jezreel Franklin. I'm a software engineer who likes to tinker, and I don't like to describe myself with regards to a stack because I move across stacks. But I primarily write backend code for alert.
Great, nice one. Um, I do hope it's it's a great one writing code for alerts. So you write .NET, you write Node, you write Python, right? And
Yeah,
also Elixir.
yeah, I do.
Great, cool. All right. So today, so the topic, Notion as a CMS, content management system. What basically was the idea? What triggered it? Why Notion?
Yeah, why Notion? So Notion because Notion affords me the ability to spill out my thoughts on the go because it's a cross-platform application that I can run on your mobile phone and also run on your PC. And in fact, it's a web app also. So that portability gives me the ability to, you know, um, basically reduce the time between thoughts, ideation, and publication, right? Because I think most times the friction we are faced in the quest to churn out content can be like sort of an hindrance. So being able to write on the go for me um, is top notch. And Notion because it exposes APIs for me to be able to pull out my content from various sources, and it also doesn't lock me in. I can always export my data, as I wish. In as much as it is centralized, I can still pull out my data to a different vendor or host my data where I like. So yeah, those are the selling points for me.
All right. So Notion as a CMS. So I will just want to give you the stage right now to do your thing. For the viewers who have questions, you can drop the questions in the chat, and if there are any questions, I'll pop it up to Jezreel. And so yeah, Jezreel, over to you. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead to share my screen.
Great.
Okay, so I must say before I go on that I do not have slides. So if there are any questions, you can always bring them up as you go.
Yeah, I'll always bring it up. Yeah.
All
Okay, so
right.
while you are getting up already, yeah. So I think one challenge most times I myself have always had was about in regards to the CMS. In regards to the CMS. You can go ahead and top your environment. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think I'm finished.
in regards to CMS for a front end. I remember when back then in Decagon when I was building a portfolio website, and the fact that I have to keep on updating the front end code to add my what do you call it, um portfolio, new experiences and the rest of them. It was really daunting, right? But then other CMSs are pretty much difficult to set up, like Strapi, Butter CMS. Butter CMS is paid. Strapi is free, but then setting it up and um, uh, having to modify things, basically posting to it was pretty much strenuous. So I guess Notion is would be a great alternative, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, Yeah. How difficult do you think it is to set up Notion?
Um, so if you're gonna want to use, so Notion is not designed primarily for you to use as a CMS, right? I mean, you just mentioned some other tools that you could use for like large scale content management systems, right? Um, but as far as difficulty, the only time you'd face the friction is like in your initial setup, right? After that,
Right.
you're good. Yeah, and
It was so
that is why we are here
right. So, but then but on the fly, you could just push out content generally, and it would
automatically. Automatically, we'll
right.
see how that can be brought to fruition using Next as a satisfied generator.
Of course, of course. Who else is the guy for it?
Yeah,
All right,
Next.js,
over to
Next.js.
you.
Yeah, okay. So for us to kick off this, if you want to follow along, I have all of the materials already pushed to the public repo. Ayubakuro can share that.
All right. Yeah, I'll be sharing that now. It will be also be in the description of this video after the live is over.
All right, cool, cool. So I think I already answered the question of why Notion. Notion because of the um, the time to delivery, right? I have my phone, I can write content, and it's live. It's live in no time. So I'm going to go ahead to show us how we can authenticate with Notion via code. Because at the end of the day, what we are doing here is we are saying, hey, I want to set up an application such that I can be able to call into different resources on Notion, right? And for you to do that, you need to set up a Notion integration. So, a Notion integration basically acts as the middleman or an authentication layer. So, you're saying, I have different blocks of materials on my Notion profile, right? And I want, on behalf of my application, for me to be able to expose that to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the repo, I already put a link there. So let's see how integrations work.
All right.
So there's an official documentation, right? But I don't intend going through the docs today
Uh,
because um
that's why we have
uh,
you. That's why we
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah,
you.
exactly, exactly,
You go through the docs and make it simpler for us, and let's go straight down to
exactly,
business.
exactly. You're going down to business because the docs are pretty I don't know. It can be daunting sometimes, but I think I've seen the depth and the breadth of it. So if you're an authenticated user already, you would have these view integrations already displayed to you
All right.
on the right top corner. Or in fact,
Okay.
let me open an incognito tab to show you what Notion looks like if you're a fresh user, because I'm already authenticated. So let's see Notion.so. So this is Notion basically. Right here, plan here on the side. So you'd have to log in if you don't have credentials, authenticate, you know, sign up and get authenticated. So that's that. So I'll go straight to the integrations.
Yeah. So, what then quick one before you move on, like, do you get your API keys, developer API keys out of the box, or
Yeah, immediately. So every integration is so as a developer, I can like set up different. I can have different integrations, right? So
all right,
every for every integration you have um, an API key per se. But I think Notion referred to as secrets. So your
all right,
secret is what you use to set up
okay,
your
cool,
SDK and you're good to go. So I'm not going to show you guys my secrets, my integrations today, but I'll just demo what it looks like to create one. So let me go back.
all right,
So
sure,
once you land on view integrations, um, you can create a new integration, right? Um, Associated workspace. So
All right.
I'm using a private like a non-enterprise account, right? So I can only have like a single workspace. I think there's a limit to how many workspaces you have access to, but you have basically an unlimited access
Okay.
to blocks and tables, right? So my workspace is my name, um, and yeah,
All right.
you can give your integration a name. I don't know, nation API new and submit. So once you do that, you immediately have your API key.
Okay.
Right? And you're good to go basically.
Access.
You're good to go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so from here we'll delve into code. If you look at the repo, I've listed the resources that you have to utilize to make sure your life is sweet. And one of those is the Notion SDK. So let's go to GitHub repo to this guy, and basically what this guy does for you is he helps you make API call solution. So instead of having to maintain routes in your application, your API routes in your application, the Notion client is basically a class to which you provide your secrets, and for you to access different resources, all you need to do is just put a dot in JS to a property, and you can access blocks, you can access
Okay.
tables and all that stuff. So it makes your life easier, right? I would show my I'll show my package of JSON as we go and see how that's utilized in code.
All right. Okay.
Yep. So if you're going to be setting up a new project, basically you would have to get this installed. But I mean, I have this repo up live already. You can always clone as a reference point to see how all of these things fit together. But going forward, I would go ahead to
Yeah.
demo how all of these pieces fit together. So firstly, you want to keep your secrets or your API keys in a .env file, right? I've gone ahead to you can name
Yeah.
it whatever
Most
it is you
definitely.
like. Yeah, but for those who are not familiar, a .env file is basically like key value pairs. We'll have like the name and then an equal to and then like the value of your secrets, basically. So the name and then the value. I've gone ahead to name my one some very nice name. So yeah, we'll have that. And let's quickly walk through my package of JSON to show you all of the nice things I have to run this application. Right, like earlier stated, I have my Ocean client, and then this is Next.js app. I think I scaffolded it using the Create Next app CLI. And your usual React packages, and also yeah, Tailwind because I mean this is a demo. We don't need so much custom stuff.
There is
Yeah,
much complexities.
yeah, yeah. Well, it does the work. It does the work. It does the work. Okay. So I'll go ahead to start up this app. Let me take it up. Yep. If you've cloned this repo or you're looking at this repo from your mobile GitHub or I mean or your PC, there are two files that are the crux of this entire setup. What I'm doing today basically is running us through all of the coding there. So I'm not going to be coding live. I'll just run you through. So if you have questions, you can always bring them, and you can, tech everywhere on the internet, so you can easily find me. Basically, I have my app, right? So this is the app directory for Next.js where your routes are hosted and your other files are hosted. And I have my
Yeah.
infrastructure folder. So in the infrastructure folder, basically there is a blog.cs file, and this blog.cs file acts as a wrapper around all of my API calls or integration with Notion, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So by default, what Notion gives you as like a response to your calls to them is a JSON um, object. So all I'm doing here is I'm normalizing the data as a column, and I'll show you how all of this fit together. Well, firstly, um, I would like to just show us what a table looks like in Notion, so we can better understand how my data wrangling and my API calls, fit into the application I'm building. So let's go to Notion.so. Mm, okay, so I have a table already set up, right? What the table does for you
All
is,
right.
so this is one of the reasons why Notion is quite appealing. It's quite appealing because I can leverage my understanding of tables, as a front end or a back
Yeah.
end engineer, and yeah, it's like I'm in the familiar land, and it's really appealing. So you can, so this is my
Yes.
setup, right? I've If you have a link to the repo, I've created like a demo, basically like a clone of this that you can always duplicate to run with. So what we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. The first one being like the actual content, and the rest are like metadata that I would utilize to
Okay.
display stuff on my blog,
Unlock,
right?
right.
So you can, so how do you create a table is as simple as coming to the left hand side and saying you want to, let's see, how do I do this? Okay, I think
Or the again, you have a table as showing there as the add new under the add new.
oh, where?
Yeah, on the new page, then you click the new table.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was forgetting that. Yeah, basically. So when you create a new table, right, for you to be able to like access it, um, you'd have to let's create a new table, basically. Call this anything I want, right? And you can begin to add columns, add properties, as many as you want, but you must see, let me go to one of the tables I created prior. Yeah, open new table, dependencies, automation. Um, yeah, so you can add as much properties as you want, basically. But I think the crux of this
Okay.
is you want to be able to, ensure that you've linked your your table to an integration, just so you can access it. Otherwise, you won't be able um, to
All
access
right.
it.
Then quick
So
one,
one
yeah.
integration can have,
Quick one, yeah.
yeah.
On your blog, on the blog table. So those various contents, right? When you is it that you have a category in which you save the contents to that automatically appears on that table?
Can you come again? I don't think I got that question correctly. Can you rephrase?
All right. So yeah, on the blog table, table, right? You have your various
Yeah,
contents. Yeah, where you have the amateurs and plastic and the rest. Is it
yeah.
like do you have a special category of notes in which if you add the new note to that category, it appears on this table, or you have to manually come here and add that yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You have to manually come here and add that yourself. You have to
Oh,
come
okay. All
manually
right.
come here and add
Noted.
that yourself. Yep. So I already have like
That,
different tags. Like so, as you add these tags, Notion will auto-populate going forward. So it's well aware of all the tags
okay.
you've already. Yeah.
Added before.
So
Right.
this is a simple view of like, of what is possible, right? And I'll show you how all of these
Okay.
columns are utilized. Yeah. So back to code on my blog.ts, which is one of the most important files here. Uh, I'm able to okay, in fact I think I should go ahead to demo this app. So let's open my local JSON, my where am I? Okay, my local host. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. So these are the contents of the table, like
All
grouped
right.
into different categories, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you can see that it's isomorphic to what I have here with the various tags.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see how we got from the table to the screen. So firstly, what you need is getting the Notion client. Um, right. So I'm doing a require from here. Um, a class is exposed. So this is a class client. A code client is exposed via the
All right.
Notion client. And all I need to do
Okay.
is just make reference to my integration token, which is basically my secret from my process.env. And once
Yeah.
I have that, this guy is accessible to me within the scope of this file, and I can, do all of the things I want to do with Notion. Yeah. So, and one of those is to get or post. If you can see from line 27, I'm making reference to Notion.database, and I'm running a query, right? So there's a method called query to which you pass in um, a structure, right? If you go to Notion
All right.
documentation, you'd see more on this. But I mean, this is pretty compelling because all I need to do is call methods, right? And this is the
Yeah.
methodology you would use, right? So you're running a query on databases, right? That is associated to your integration, but then you're supplying the database ID, and then you can also additionally supply filters. So what I'm doing here is I'm supplying a filter to check this property called active, right? Such that I only want to retrieve information, right, from my blog or from my table where the property active is checked. So the reason why I did this is because sometimes I might be writing stuff, but I don't want it to appear on my website already, right? So I
Yeah.
only I
Yeah.
only want to search that here. I only want to search that when I have clicked or have marked this guy to be ready for deployment, that it will now appear on my website, right? So let me show you what that is on the table. So
Yeah.
this is the
I
this
saw
is
the
the
active column.
yeah, exactly, this is it. So if this guy is not checked, right, it's not going to appear. So I need to come
All
here and
right.
check it, ensure that it is set to true for it to appear. Basically, it's just my way of saying skipping draft until I I
Yeah.
say
Yes. See as draft.
yeah. So I mean, all I need to do is to click a button and everything comes up. So that's what this filter does for me. I can filter on different columns, and different properties. But for this case, I'm using a boolean, so it has to be true. It has to be checked. For I can also supply to the query how I want my table to be sorted, right?
Yeah.
But for this property I want to sort by, for this I'm sorting by the published property, right? And I'm asking it to sort it in descending order. So I have a published column here, and it's basically a data type of date, I want my information to be pulled from the data from the table in descending order and sorted by the date, basically. That's what this guy does for me. And
Alrighty.
yeah, pretty
Then
cool. Pretty
yeah,
cool.
it is.
Yeah,
So that this basically lists out all your posts. Then you now have that which gets a single post by ID.
it's exactly by the page, basically. So every
Okay.
okay, yeah, as we go on, we'll see how this is used. I just wanted to like touch down on all of these things, so it's not unfamiliar when I start
Yeah.
showing the React code. So one thing is I can so I'm using Next. I can do all of these API calls in my Next component, but I think I like to think of having the back of my front end separate, such that my React is only concerned with rendering stuff. I don't like to do all those many API calls in my React
But
because it makes
interesting
it
on the
bumpy.
components.
Yeah, exactly. So my component is only making like a function call, which is under the hood an API call, basically. Right. So one other very important piece is the next function I'm going to explain. Right. What this function does is it gives me um, all the homepage listing. So I was trying to solve a problem where I wanted to have different kind of posts be rendered to different layouts, so I can route them to different routes in my next app. So So I have, if you can see, I have this array of different tags, right? So if you clone this repo, you can repropose this to your own use case. But in my mind, I think in terms of poetry, musings, and engineering stuff like code. So this is basically like a separation of or a segmentation of my thoughts, my thinking, how content should be segmented. So I have these different tags, right? And I've gone ahead to take it out from the array as a discriminated union. So if I highlight this, tag is basically a string that is either poetry, musing, or engineering, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end of the day, what my React application is concerned about is this particular structure, normalized homepage listings on the homepage. My date, when it was created, the slug, the title, and the various tags associated to that particular post, right? So let's see what happens in this function. So I call this method called get normalized homepage listing, right? So I'm basically getting all the posts and I'm mapping it to like restructure it to what I want my app to be aware of. Because I don't want to be doing post or create time in my React app. I just want to
Yeah.
access the I want to get slug, I want to get the title, and all of these are in like deeply nested objects. So I'm basically wrapping around the Notion API to ensure that my front end is happy and everyone is good to go. So that's what this does for me. And I'm also going ahead to get all these thing tags, right? I might say, hey, my my world view has expanded, and I want to like add a different section to my website, which is say something like politics, and that could be associated to a
Yeah.
different tag. Yeah. So what I'm
Yeah.
doing here is I'm getting all of the tags. So and I'm taking out duplicates, so that I can have just distinct tags, right?
All
because
right.
because eventually what I want to do is I want to be able to do a dot poetry in my React app, and I'm getting everything on that poetry, right? I also want to do a um, dot musings. I'm getting everything on that musings. I also want to do like a dot engineering, you know. Yeah. So what I'm doing basically is I'm wrapping this guy is taking out getting me all the tags, right? But removing duplicates. And I'm now proposing it such that I have a structure that is tag to posts, tag to posts, tag to post. I'm basically inverting the direction of data. And if you look at this type definition, so this is basically type definition, right? Um, Poetry wrapped
Right.
to a list of normalized homepage listing, right? Musings, you know, engineering, like that. So TypeScript, this is why I like TypeScript. You can't do this with Rod.js.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So it documents the code for me in such a way that I can reason about it. So yeah, I think this is pretty much all that this guy does. And
Okay.
when we go to let's go to React Land and see where these guys be utilized. So on the first page of my application, which is the page of TS here, you can see that I'm making that API call. If you look at the type signature, it is the home page listing, right? And
Yeah.
I'm assigning the properties I'm getting from that API call to different curation. So a curation is just basically a block that houses that does the mapping basically for me. So music is a block, engineering is a block, poetry is a block, as shown here. So where is
Yeah.
my map? Localhost. Yeah, so you can see all of these guys here. Everything. So engineering and all that cool stuff. Okay, so that's that. Um, the next important bit of this application is how I convert, or I go from, like I said, what the Notion gives to me is basically this big fat JSON of content, and that's not very useful on its own right. At the end of the day, I want to go from my content to a web page, right? And I'm not going to show
Yeah.
my users so I have to parse the JSON. I have to make it useful to myself. For me, and for my users or anyone who's visiting my blog. And that is where this guy comes in. Yep. So yep. In fact, let me do a console.log to show you what comes directly from
Come from information. Yeah.
here from Notion. Because all of
That,
this is looking like magic. Let's see. I think I have an API route that does that for me. Okay, yes. Get posts. I'm going to visit this route on my browser. API slash Notion content. So all of this is next. So if it seems unfamiliar, you can um, check the next documentation. So next allows you have like API routes that don't render stuff but just
yeah,
returns.
pair out.
Yeah, basically just
Yeah.
returns.
So you,
So I'm going to visit. So it's isomorphic to my folder structure. So I'm going to visit slash API slash Notion content and we'll see what comes back from that. So I have my local host 3000. Let me open that on a new tab. Mm, slash API slash Notion content. Okay, yeah. So this is what Notion gives to me right off the
all
bat.
right.
Yeah. So this is all of the objects I have on my table. If let's go through. So this is so for let me collapse this guy. So this is the first item. It's a page. This is the time it was
Yeah.
created. Um, the parent. So the parent is the database ID basically. So because it belongs to the database.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, this
Yeah.
all of these properties I have on my table, like the slug for the column for slug is here.
Yeah.
The published time is here. You can see that it's of type date and all that cool stuff. So this is what
Yeah.
Notion gives to me by default. Yeah. So after getting this out, I'll see how to go and tell Notion to give me the content of which is what's
Content
going
of
to be
that
relevant.
particular.
Exactly. So all I'm doing now is I'm rendering through my front end a list of all of the things I have available, so I can go ahead to pull them individually. So you'd see how we use routes to get all of those, and how I use slugs to do that for me, basically in code. So that's Notion. So no magic yet. It's all API calls and JSON.
Of course. Basically,
Yeah,
just rules the world.
yeah. I must say that there are also other alternatives you can use. So there is a package called Notion to Markdown, but I don't find it attractive because what it does for me is it takes my Notion content, converts it to Markdown, and then passes it to an HTML structure. And I think that that kind of adds an
Okay.
extra layer, yeah, to my pipeline, to my rendering pipeline, because why do I have to go from JSON to Markdown back to HTML? So
You
you
can
will
pass
see
those
how
back to HTML.
yeah, we'll see how I'm doing that with React. So what I'm doing basically is I'm getting the JSON object, right. I'm just rendering it directly as as React nodes. Because at the end of the day, all React is basically um, your React app is basically this big chain of JavaScript objects, right? And JSX is just like a domain specific language for you to pretend that you're writing HTML, but at the end of the day, it's still transpiled to JSON object. Yeah, yeah, JSX is a lie because it's transpiled to the actual JavaScript representation. So I don't want to have to do all of those things just for me to render content. I'm going directly from JSON to JS to my HTML nodes rather, and everyone is happy. Everyone is fine. So this is the component that helps me do all of these things I'm saying, right? So yeah, let me scroll down. Scroll down. Yep, yep. So I think it's going to be important that I also show you the structure of each individual content, just so you can have a better understanding of what this code is doing. So when you call for, so I'll do a simple console log around. Let's see, I'm doing that. Notion, new scenes, piece of text. Okay, get post content. Yep. So I'm going to console log this guy. Okay. Mm, get post content. Just doing console log here. Post content. And I'll visit one of the routes. So inspect the console and see what comes back from Notion. So let's go back to the app. I'm going to refresh. I don't trust my HMR. So let's do this particular one. Okay. Yeah. So I logged on my console. So this is what Notion gives you by default.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every item is a
Okay.
block. Every item is a block, and they give you a particular type. So we have a type
Okay.
paragraph. Let me just show you what I mean. Um, for this guy, I think this is the post I'm currently looking at. So this particular block,
Yeah. Okay.
Notion will refer to this particular block as a paragraph, right? If I had
Paragraph.
like
All right.
yeah, if I had a heading here, um, heading um, let me just do a controversy, and we'll see it appear immediately. Um, so what post was that? Diversity and inclusion. So let's go back to the app. Um, yeah, see, you can see Jezreel is amazing here. And, but that's not the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is Notion tells me what kind of type that is. Let's go to my console. Um, yeah, so it tells me. So this is it. It tells me that it's a heading of level one. If it's an H2, Notion tells me. So I
Yeah.
use all those information to render a particular HTML tag. So at the end of the day, my
Oh,
HTML is semantically correct because that's what you want.
all right.
You don't want to render divs. You want to actually render. You're building a web app, right? So you want your application to render content in a way that's compliant to the W3 standard. And Notion gives me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, what I'm doing is I'm taking all of this array of objects, right, and I'm repurposing it to become HTML nodes on my application, and that's what this particular file does for me. The content renderer. So yeah,
Cool.
okay. So I'm going to rant a bit about functional programming because I lean towards all of those some of those ideas to ensure that this code is as simple as possible. Yeah. So
What's a conversation with just with functional programming?
you said
I say, what's a conversation with Jezreel without functional programming?
right.
You've always you've always
I love
been on
functions.
functional programming.
If I was to go through a different route, ah, this code would look a lot messier. But yeah, I think the only functional programming specific concept that is utilized or that I utilize here are um, lenses and currying, right? Um, I've added a link to a resource that kind of debunks or that kind of explains all of those things are. It's called functional programming jargons. Because when functional programming nerds are talking about all of these things, they tend to like use so many big words, but that resource makes kind of demystifies all of those stuff for you. But I'll go ahead to explain what a lens is because I'm using a lens here. So if you could see my
All right.
structure, yeah, if you could see my structure, this guy is not showing me the is not necessarily telling me. So if you see this particular highlighted object, right? It's a paragraph, but within the paragraph there is a text node, and that text node is pregnant with more information. Sometimes a paragraph could have like
Yeah.
sometimes a paragraph could have like a link inside of it, right? You know how you'd have a
Yeah.
post and there's like click here to for references, right? In order to access those, I lean towards using lenses because it makes it easier for me to pass or to traverse deeply nested objects, right? For my first, so what the lens does is in Ramda, you supply an array of different properties and their corresponding children, and it's also null safe, right? If it is not existent, your app doesn't crash. So it gives you that guarantee. It just returns the safe
All
default
right.
to you. Yeah. So I didn't want to have to be doing if not null. That's why I have this. So it's pretty declarative, right? So for me to get so this is a paragraph content part. I'm saying, hey, I want a paragraph, right? And I want to get the content of the
Yeah.
text. And I want to get so this is an index. I want to get the first item of an array that houses the plain text, which I'm going to which I'm going to display to the front end. That's what this guy does for me, simply. Now I have lenses for different types of HTML content, right? There's a lens for
Yeah.
um, there's a lens for bullet lists. So I could also have bullet lists, right? I also made the accommodation for those two, right? So I'm saying, hey, I want a bullet list. I want the text. I want the first item of the array, which text refers to, and I want the plain text content, right? For quotes, so these are just different HTML types. In Notion land,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what it is referred to as quotes, paragraph. In fact, for even code blocks too, I don't know if you've ever encountered the pre tag, which you can use to like actually write code in your HTML. This guy handles that for me. So
Yeah,
Notion
yeah.
refers as code. I want to get the text, the first item. I want to get code, text, first item, and the raw text content.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that is that about lenses basically. You supply a lens path and you can view the lens path. Yeah. So I have a function to view the lens paths. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Okay. Now for me to actually like get the content, I've gone ahead to write a curried function, right? So a curried function is a function that takes in an argument and returns another function that expects the second argument or the rest of the arguments. Um, I
Yeah.
think it's important that I don't know if I don't know if I should do a demo on that. Maybe a quick example. But I mean, it's in action in this place here. It's in action here. So I have this function, right? What it does for me is I supply to it the path to which I want to pick into, right? I want to get. So all the lens does for me is it just takes me there. It doesn't necessarily give me the content. I have to like view the content. That's what this guy does for me. So I've written
Okay.
a general, yeah, I've
All
written
right.
a general function called get content, right? Such that when I pass in the first argument, which is lens path, right? I now have a more specific function that returns the actual content for me. So this is get content, and I've applied the paragraphs lens path to it. So if you look at this function signature, you see
Oh,
it takes in an any. I didn't type this properly, but yeah, it takes in an any that returns an object that takes in an any. Right. So I've gone ahead to now generalize it to now to take the abstraction a layer down, a level down, so that it is more general. And now what I have is a new function that takes in an element object. So this it went from taking a path to returning an element object to returning an any to now returning taking an element object and returning an any. Right. So I've proposed this general function to be more specific in this place. And the same thing for paragraph array and um, and other stuff I have here. Yeah, that's that for lenses. So I think the next item that is important to look through is this guy here, the render procedure. So as we've already
okay.
established, yeah, as we've already established, Notion gives me an array of objects, right? And what I want to do is I want to go from an array of objects to React nodes. And what other way? What? How do I do that? I would use a map. I'd use a map. That's what React understands. React is an array of maps, and all a map is really is a map is a higher order function that takes in a function that ought to be applied on something like an array or a functor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the function that's going to be
Gives
applied. Yeah, this is function that's going to be applied for every iteration, and the function is called render procedure. What I'm doing here is I'm first of all getting the element type, right? Like you can see here, for every block there's an element type, which is this paragraph, right? So upon establishing the element type, I'm rendering the corresponding HTML content. So for paragraph, let's keep paragraph away for now because that's kind of a little bit complex. But you can if you look at this, you see that for the case. So I'm doing a switch case JS stuff
Yeah.
instead of an if.
I
If you
can see
can
that.
if you look at, yeah if you can look at the case for heading, if it is heading 3, all I'm doing is I'm getting out the content for heading 3, right? It is rendered within this guy,
Okay.
yeah, and so on and so forth, basically. Yep, for code.
So, but basically, right now, basically now this your renderer, right? basically can
Yeah.
be applied to multiple since you've gone the extra mile to get it done get it done. So anyone can just hop on the repo and just pick it out and
Yeah.
get to go
Yeah.
get cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing that the only time you might have an issue is if your the way you structure your basically if you're going to like change the way
Oh,
you structure your columns, you have to be aware of that, right? But as once your Notion content object gets to this function, it handles it properly, right? Because all this guy is
all
concerned
right.
about is like the content itself. So as far as you can get to the
All right.
content, yeah,
So Jezreel, we have less than 10 minutes for left. So can we just have a run through and so we don't
yeah,
get this video too long.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the render procedure is pretty much intuitive. And when I make my API call, I supply that to this. So this is I'm running a map on my render procedure and the Notion content, and I'm returning a fragment, a React fragment, right? And that's pretty much it. So let me just go ahead to show you where this is being used. So when you visit a particular route on
All right.
my visit a particular route. I'm using a what's this called? I'm using a slug, a dynamic route. Yeah, that's what it's called in Next. Dynamic route,
Yeah.
such that
Yeah.
yeah when I've rendered all of my blog listing, yeah, what I need to do is I'm visiting a particular route with the slug. And whenever I find a post that matches this slug, I'm rendering it
Brandon.
on
All
the
right.
page. Yeah. So yeah, this is
Then
my
also one
page.
more thing. I noticed you had coded the tags like the musings, the engineering, and the rest. I noticed you had coded them at one point in time. So is there any possibility that where okay you could get those tags from Notion and
Yeah,
dynamically render those tags?
yeah. You can. But I was trying to work with them to have compile time safety. So I'm well aware of all of the different tags I have. Right. I mean, you can get all of those
Oh,
tags
okay.
from Notion yourself, but then they would only exist at runtime, and you can't guarantee any TypeScript safety. Right. So I'm
No,
going the
okay.
extra
All
mile
right.
to be able to do that in TypeScript, such that I'm not
All
using
right.
the
All
wrong
right.
method. Yeah. So it's just safety guarantees basically. So this is where my content renderer is being utilized. Um, so I get in my
Okay.
page, I get in my tag from my slug basically from Next, right? And I'm finding a
Yeah.
post that matches that slug. I'm getting the content of the page, of the post. I'm getting the data. So data will give me things like date, and then this content will give me this
Oh,
object that is being rendered here. So this is
perhaps headings and
basically
the rest.
yeah, this is metadata. This is content, right? All of that is in the promise of yep. And yeah, I'm rendering my article. My article is just a simple function that wraps an article, gives me the date, gives me the heading, yeah, and then gives me the content. That is how we go from this um, to this, and we go from this to this heading, my date,
So,
my content.
so about images, how do you handle?
Yeah, so an image is also a different tag. You can add images to your Notion. So all you need to do is just
All
handle
right.
the particular case and getting your image URL. You can also use so Notion does not allow you to upload like very large images. I mean, you also don't want to upload large images to your website because they make it slow. But you can further
Okay.
optimize the process by hosting it on like something like Cloudinary and then posting a link. So you'll be looking for an embed
Yeah.
instead of an image tag, yeah, basically. So for every
Okay.
content
All
type,
right.
there's a
All right.
corresponding tag. Yeah. So the code is extensible. You can clone and do whatever you like with it. And
All right. See. Thank you very much, Jezreel. It's been enlightening. Seeing what can be done with Notion and the Next.js app. maybe if anyone's working on a project that they just need a quick CMS to just push out, and they can and update on the fly. All right. So far, no questions. No questions. No comments. Okay. Ah. So Jezreel, it's been great having you on the on this channel.
Thank
Really
you, thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah. So Jezreel is on all, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you're on GitHub using the Tech app, and
Yeah,
so you just go ahead
it's
and
like
follow
everywhere.
him. All right. Then also again to have access to the repo, it's on his GitHub. It's on the link on the screen currently, but I'll be adding it to the description of this video on YouTube. All right, guys, it's been great having you guys. Okay, and I have one question from Obina Segudam. It goes by: does Notion give us the ability to style the content of our page differently, and how do we target different content to style?
Okay, so styling is your problem to solve. Um, so if you let me show you what I have here for this for
So
my use
maybe
case here. Huh?
back to that your passer. That's your method that passes the content. You could actually do the styling from there, I
Yeah,
guess.
you can do the styling from there, but I find it to be uh, it kind of like gets you locked in, right? So I like to separate my styling concerns from my rendering concerns. So all I want Notion to do is just give me
Oh,
HTML. I'm going to style it as I wish. So with CSS, you
all
can
right.
have down selectors that can select
I guess.
deeply listed items, and everybody is happy. And also,
Right.
I want to plug these guys. Tailwind. They have a pros class that can like. So for this app, I'm using this pros class, and it kind of intuits different HTML tags and makes it look nice. So you can just put this class, and you'd have cool content, structured and styled. It gives you default styling, but you can actually extend it. So big ups to Tailwind.
All right. So there you have it, Obina. Thanks for joining us today. Um, so right. Yeah. So I guess that's it for today, and we're looking forward to next week. Looking forward to next week where we're getting a new guest. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do, and turn on notifications so you can be notified when we're going live next time again. All right. Once more again, Jezreel, thank you very much.
Yep.
Adios.
Thank you.
And the stream is gonna be ending anytime